Patty Beckman is the vice president of the governing board. She was elected last year in 2018, served as the president. I guess we're in 2020 now. 2 years ago, 2008, a year and a half, 2018, served as the governing board president, is now serving as the governing board vice president. As we're talking to Patty, we're talking to her as first a parent, second as a citizen, and third, she's not here representing the district. So let's just make that clear. But she will give us some perspectives as she sees it from her governing board seat. So she wears a lot of hats. Say hi to everybody, Patty.
Hi, thanks for having me. It is an interesting time and I appreciate being here.
Okay, so funny thing is with the technology today, I was making a call to some of the people that live in our district just to see if they're okay, if they need anything. And I dialed the correct number that was on my list and I got the wrong person. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. I thought I dialed, 555, whatever the number is. And she goes, no. And she told me a totally different number. So I said, I'm so sorry. I hung up. I dialed the same number again, make sure I did it correctly, and I got the same person at the wrong number. So I don't know what's going on with this virus, but I think it's infected my phone now. So Patty, let's get right down to it. First of all, where do you hail from, and what do you do in your non-professional SUSD life?
Well, I hail from a lot of places, but my family's been here since the 1950s. And so my parents moved away from Arizona while they were young to Washington State. And then we came back here when I was in high school. And I graduated from high school in Glendale Union from Moon Valley High School. And have spent a lot of time in the Scottsdale area since probably the 80s or so. So we have long family roots here. With regard to your second question, did you say, what do I do outside of the governing board? I know we have a little bit of a delay. Oh, a lot of things.
Yes.
I'm a CFO of a small manufacturing company here in Scottsdale. I sit on the board of the Charos Foundation. I obviously I'm a governing board member, which we know as well. I have 2 teenage girls at Saguaro High School. They're freshmen, and they are as involved as you can possibly be, just like most teens are. And for the most part, that keeps me pretty darn busy, especially the governing board seat right now. It's an interesting time, to say the least.
Yeah, you came up just after the Red for Ed movement, is that correct?
Yes.
When you started serving?
During, yeah. I did.
So what I remember specifically about that whole Red for Ed movement is that the teachers and support staff and all these great educators kind of reached a boiling point, went and walked down to the Capitol with about 70,000 people demanding for better treatment of their students. And it lasted for 6 days, and it kind of evolved over those 6 days where it seemed like there was a lot of community support, super majority when it first started. And then when people were missing school, I think that some people started to turn a little bit and kind of look at the educators as greedy. And that always kind of baffled me because I knew why people were down there and what they were doing it for. And now I see where parents are having to have their kids at home, not by anything that the teachers have done or the education support professionals, but because of the epidemic that's kind of this pandemic. And I just get the strong feeling that a lot of people are understanding now that the teachers, from what they've done in this short amount of time to do this 180 and flipping it around to the food service, to the bus drivers, to the principals, to the superintendent, everybody just doing yeoman's work and missing all these students. I think people are starting to realize that when the teachers walked out and everybody walked out, it wasn't about them. What do you think about that?
There's a lot, to discuss there. In my mind, it was never about greed. Obviously, you can't argue with the numbers, and statistically being 49th in the country, that says it all. It speaks volumes. I was proud to be down there the first day. I brought my daughters with me. I knew what a monumental movement it was. And quite frankly, education needs to be funded as a priority in the state. I think we know that. Right now, I myself, and I think almost everyone I know, values our teachers, respects and values our teachers. As I've said many times, you can't expect to have a successful child unless you respect and value your educators that support creating that successful child. With what is going on right now, you're absolutely right. We are seeing tremendous amounts of efforts on behalf of our educators to support our students. And quite frankly, administrators as well, all the way through our classified employees. And I'm glad you brought this up today, because I have been in communication with every level of our district, including our educators, and they are chomping at the bit to do everything they can to help our students currently. We have rolled out, just in the last week, 1,600 laptops to kids to continue forward with their education. Patty Bilberry and the nutrition services team right now, they are heroes. They are giving away about 2,000 meals a day. They gave away 5,000 meals last week alone, and they're on target to give 10,000 away this week. So what has really impacted me is, as a governing board member, we have many discussions about our public schools, right? We live in a state of educational choice now. Parents can say, well, maybe that's a better option down the street than the traditional neighborhood school that I'm used to. So we run the numbers quite often, our taxpayers do, and they say, well, what value do those educators bring? You know, we can get all sorts of different educational styles and choices all over the place. Why would we stick with the typical neighborhood school, frankly? And what is happening now is shining a light on what that neighborhood school is about. We have always said the neighborhood school is the center of a community, and boy, are we seeing it now. And I was laughing before I got on, because as a parent, as I mentioned to you earlier, you know, I was feeling a little overwhelmed with trying to capture my arms around all of the emails and the communication that is coming from our teachers and our principals and leadership and whatnot, and get my kids out of bed and out of the mindset that they can just leisurely go through their day, that they actually have to get back and have some sort of structure. So putting my parent hat on, I was actually saying, wait, let's pump the brakes here a little bit, educators, because they can't wait to get back and help our students. They truly can't, because they miss them and they want to see them be successful. And so, to your point, a very long answer to it is, our educators are most definitely proving what we all knew all along, that they are there for our children and that they deserve our respect and they should be valued.
And I really have questions coming in, and we'll ask those as we go along, and we encourage people to actually type those in. For those people joining us late, this is Patty Beckman. She's the Vice President of the Scottsdale Unified School District Governing Board. She has twins and a husband, so she's got a lot going on at home. She's also a professional CEO, so she's got a lot going on professionally, and she is a community volunteer on the Governing Board. I tell you, Patty, that I have never been more proud to be part of the education community as I am right now. I thought that when we had Red for Ed, it was the best thing ever. This is the best thing ever. I get teary-eyed when I see things happening, from bus drivers to nurses. Like I said, we talk about teachers, but this is really a team sport, and there are lots of support personnel and administrators who are pulling it all together, leaving out nothing. And I just love them all, so I want to give them a big love you. Very proud to be part of it. I got a question from Shay. She was asking, she said, Patty Bilberry said that there might be a need for paper bags for lunches. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, she did put out kind of an all call yesterday to help out, because we are burning through those, and happily burning through them, because every time we give something away, that means a child is fed, obviously. I think she did receive about 1,000, but she's going to go through those quickly as well. I read the numbers. I had an update from her this afternoon, as I said, and I'll mention it again in case people logged on a little bit later, that they're doing 2,000 meals a day between with the bus routes that are going out now, and then the actual original sites. That's a lot of bags and a lot of supplies. And she runs an amazing team over there. She really does. I don't think people understand. And you have to rein me in from talking budget and numbers, because that's my world. But nutrition services not only provides a great service for all of our students, because that is something that public schools do very well, as we know. And we also know that a lot of our children in the district come to school specifically to eat, and that's where they get their best meal during the day, is at our schools. And she has her arms around this department and her team awesome, as she calls it, so tightly that not only can she do something tremendous that's such a significant value to our community, but she makes money doing it too. She has things down so well that her catering service, etc., provides actual positive revenue to our budget, which is fantastic. So right now, her team isn't even blinking when they're providing these resources, but I know it's affecting them. So when we go back to you saying paper bags, Shay, they are willing and able and ready to take anything that people will either give them or point them in the direction of. And bags for lunches is most definitely a need. She did get 1,000 the other day, and I'm sure she needs more.
Okay, so for those people that are listening, they could actually go to, let's say, go to Curlin 23 and put in the contact information. If you have something, we'll make sure that we get it over to the school. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Great.
I had a question from one of our viewers, perhaps a future governing board member, wanting to know if you have any idea when the facilities around our schools, for instance, the fields, will be closed to the public.
You know, it just came to my attention the other day that they were even open. And I know that can be fairly controversial, because while the state has closed, you know, non-essential things and asked everyone to stay home, and in fact, we are keeping our own students home, yet we have some of these facilities available and the community members are going out there. It's my understanding that Dr. Creekard made the decision with the team to leave a few of the things open. I have to say that's a little tough right now when we're asking everybody to maintain the social distancing, et cetera. But at the same time, we're balancing that people are trying to get outside and at least stay somewhat sane. I think it'll probably be reviewed, you know, shortly, because it is something that you have two sides. You have some people say, trust us to maintain that social distance and be respectful and handle things appropriately when we do go outside, because we are not in a lockdown situation. And then on the other hand, you have people that say, we don't have our schools open. This is a taxpayer asset. And it's also right now a little scary if people are touching playground equipment, etc. So, you know, I've spoken to Dr. Creekard about it. We're going to review it, and I'm sure that they will daily be having a conversation about whether that's the appropriate thing to keep doing.
Thank you for answering that. I want to point out again, we're with Patty Beckman, Vice President of the Scottsdale Governing Board. She is not here as a governing board member speaking on that behalf, but as an individual giving us a little bit of insight. So this is her personal opinion. And what I would like to say now, just to you, Patty, is thank you so much for being a vocal part of our community. In a time of uncertainty, we need leaders to step up and reassure us, give us that steady hand. And I'm very proud to know you, and I admire the work you're doing, and I think you play a key role in our community, and I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Thank you, Eric, and ditto. Thank you, I appreciate being here.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me a little bit from as a parent perspective, and I want you to be gentle, okay? Because you and I had a little bit of a discussion early on before everybody came along, and I'll get to Jennifer's question in a moment. And we talked a little bit about how this is a 180. I mean, this is like in a week's time that this whole boat, right? So if this was a big ship, it has to turn around in a week, and it's such a short time. And people have been just working like crazy. I know my wife is just invigorated by the challenge, and I think lots of the teachers and professionals are. But tell me the best and the worst. All right, let's hear it from a parent. What's going on over there?
Okay,
Patty?
my parent hat on, and I talked to leadership today about this. As a parent of high school children, I was a little bit overwhelmed with the communication. Really well intended, certainly, but when you have two kids in high school and they each have 6 different teachers, and you're getting 12 different teachers trying to contact you about how the direction they're going to be moving forward, etc. And they're using email, and they're using WhatsApp, and they're using Remind, and they're using Synergy. You seriously want to kind of pull your head out, and you're thrilled. And I am just incredibly appreciative. So it's not a criticism. It's a, it's a lot to get your arms around as a parent, you know, and understand how these kids are actually going to be learning going forward, and making sure we don't miss some sort of communication. So I did talk to leadership and say, as a parent, I think it's a lot. I personally wish the communication would just be coming from one place, meaning when I logged on to Synergy today, I saw that all my girls' teachers had updated kind of their expectations of things going forward in Synergy. And, you know, for me personally, I think that would be great, just a one spot that they would email parents, and you can, you know, log on to Synergy and see how I'm going to run my classroom and what we're going to do and the daily expectations, etc. Because it's really difficult to field all those emails. So for me, that was the worst. The best, if you're asking for the best and the worst, the best is just the level of caring. It is astounding. I mean, as I said, when we first started, the teachers are kind of chomping at the bit to help our students, and watching the different educators step up, even from different areas. For instance, a social studies teacher might say, guess what, back in the day, I taught math at a different school, etc. I'm here as a resource. If your child is falling behind or just needs help, just let me know and I'll help as well. So we are having so many educators, so many professionals from all areas of our district stepping up and saying, I will help your child if there is a need. And Eric, can I spin off of this into a little bit of a different direction? I wanted to make sure before I forget today to bring something up, because I think we are talking a lot about our educators. We are talking a lot about administration and the parent challenges and online learning, etc. And one thing I really would like is to challenge our students in one area, not in the academic area, but we've raised them since preschool. And you know what we've said? We've said, be kind, right? How many times have we said be kind? And they are. Our students are amazing. But if you talk to your kids, and I know I do, they know who has challenges academically in their class. Maybe we don't as parents, but if you said, do you know who struggles in Algebra 1? They'd probably say, yeah, I do. So what I would challenge our students to do is reach out. Reach out to those students that you know were in your classes that may be having a difficult time, or your friends that you know don't have a lot of parental support at home to guide them, and say, hey, you know what, did you see that assignment? I just finished it. It was a little tough. Do you need a little help? That's what I'm asking our students to do, because it's difficult sometimes for the parents to know what's going on, and our students actually do. So be kind, reach out, and embrace your friends and help guide them through this as well.
That's a wonderful sentiment. And I think we can't say it enough that the academics that might be gained or lost during this time is really a very small part of life.
Right.
That we have to kind of, what my worry is, and I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but I really worry about domestic violence. I worry about the stress that this puts on families, and that what's going to happen with those people that might snap a little bit, right? And the kids that are, it's everybody crowded into this little space. So if I could say one bit of advice, I would ask everybody to breathe a little bit. Slow down, take a breath, go outside in your backyard. When you talk about kids helping other kids, that's really important, that they're not isolated in any way. I hope that if you found somebody in your classroom, kids, that maybe is a shy person, an introvert, doesn't really talk very much, that would be the one I hope you'd reach out to. So well, yeah, we're both on the same page.
Well, and you're absolutely right. And I would remind our parents with that, your point is valid. Some of our kids, not only do they come to our schools to eat, but they come to our schools because it's their safe place. We know that. It's an unfortunate reality that we do have, that some of our students really look to school to be an environment where they do actually feel safe, and maybe they're not safe at home. So again, breathing is important, but also, and I would speak to my fellow moms now, throwing on my mom hat here again, and the ones that are feeling overwhelmed, this isn't a competition, right? None of us, we don't have to have a Pinterest-worthy little study area all set up for our kids. Let's just make sure we do our best, right? It is not supposed to be, look, I finished this with my kid and we did the science project and it's amazing, and some other mom feels like we didn't even get through our day hardly. Let's just do the best that we can do. And I promise everyone, wherever we end up with this, we will assess your children, we will put in the supports that they need after this is over, and we'll get them where they need to be.
Perfect. That's a reassurance there. I had a question from Jennifer I wanted to get back to. She was
Mhm.
asking about the support professionals. Are they going to be paid through the rest of the year? The money
Yes,
that they would have made.
yes.
Fantastic. That's nice.
So we the support professionals, our classified workers, are incredibly valuable, and I can't say enough that they are kind of the backbone of our district, right? And we see that with nutrition services right now. When we adopted our first resolution that came out last week, we recognized that we wanted to make sure that they were paid during the time the schools were closed, and the term essential and non-essential was used, and it's being used everywhere. And I would say that everyone's essential, right? But they used it to differentiate the ones that actually had to keep working right now, had to be out there handing out meals, had to actually be driving a few buses where we needed, etc. So the governing board's resolution actually differentiated those ones that were working, for instance, handing out meals, and they were being paid time and a half. And our classified workers that were not being called currently were being paid their regular salary or their regular hourly rate. So while they are all essential, and all of them remain on call, the ones that we are using currently, we're getting time and a half, and the others were getting their hourly rate. I don't know if that will stay the same, that differential, but I know that the governing board, and I can't speak for them, but I know the hope and the intent is that everyone gets paid for the whole time we're out of school.
Fantastic. I'll remind everybody we're on a 30-second delay with with Patty Beckman. Sorry. We're going to wrap up in about 3 minutes. And I do want to say that our campaign's working with our field organizer is an AEA retired teacher, and she's working with AEA retired teachers to try to get them to sign up to be virtual tutors. So once we get that going, we'll share that information with you. Speaking of taking folks out of isolation and not competing with each other for who's got the best science project, is there a place for parents to go where there might be an online chat or anything like a Facebook page where they can share a glass of wine, so to speak?
I don't know about the wine part, but I think we have a huge shout out to Scottsdale Parent Council. I mean, the strides Scottsdale Parent Council has made in the last 1.5 to 2 years is nothing short of amazing. And so I would use that resource, and I would use it a lot. If I was a parent out there right now, which I am, that was overwhelmed or just had questions and wanted to see how other parents were feeling about certain issues, I certainly would reach out. You can hit them through email, you can go onto their Facebook page, and I know Laura and the whole team is really receptive and very down to earth. You know, we're all in this together. So any question that I think anyone would have is a valid question and concern. We've never faced anything like this before, but I would definitely go to Scottsdale Parent Council first.
Wonderful. Hey, Patty, I just got a message from a woman named Laura that says a lot of people just joined and they want to ask questions. Are you okay with hanging out a little longer?
Sure.
Fantastic. Tell me, what is your favorite food?
Oh boy, you're gonna get me in trouble now. It's pizza. I love pizza.
All right, well, take it a little bit further. I mean, you're not eating Domino's with that favorite pizza, right? Where's your favorite pizza from?
It's Oregano's and humble pie. I have to go with local stuff.
Nice, humble pie. Yeah, the sausage and onion is very nice.
Yeah.
The wise guy, I think they call it. And if I remember correctly, I think you had a celebration for your victory for the governing board at Humble Pie.
I did. And, you know, and again, like most people are doing right now, I would put a call out to support local, which, you know, because they are the backbone of our community as well. And the reason I had my, you know, my, what do you want to say, victory party or whatever you would call it at Humble Pie is because so many places around our community donate to our schools and really support our schools, especially at the auctions. They get hit up all the time, right? And Humble Pie is one of those that constantly says yes. I mean, I think every time I went in there for a school auction and asked them for a gift card or something, they were immediately saying yes and grateful to, you know, to have the kids and the families coming into their establishments. So I think it's time to repay a lot of them.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to visit Patty's favorite Humble Pie, that's over there at McDonald and Scottsdale Road in the Gainey Ranch. Is it Gainey Ranch Village?
Hilton Village.
Hilton Village. I knew it was a village. It takes a village. And yes, part of our community is our businesses who have always supported education. Mm-hmm. That's a wonderful component we've left out. Shay has asked a question. What are we doing about our special education population?
That is a huge topic right now. And I know that a lot of our SLPs, our speech language pathologists, and Dr. Guerin, who is heading up, what we're going to do, are all talking about the resources that they can provide for special education right now. I'm not going to speak to it because I don't want to misspeak, but I know that it's on their mind. And I would most definitely email leadership and ask, because that is really an area right now that's difficult, right? These kids need their therapies. A lot of them are not used to change, and we're making significant progress before this happened, whether it be with speech therapy or reading or whatnot. So that is being addressed at the district level. I asked it specifically a couple of days ago, and they were coming up with some different strategies. So I don't want to not speak well about it, but I would reach out to district because that was on the top of their list.
Yeah, there are federal mandates that have to be recognized.
Right.
State, there's a lot of things that we have to do, but it's early in this, and I know that you're working hard to get that done.
We are.
Personal question from me: through this crisis, I see everybody working together in a more helpful manner, and I've always felt that through every crisis is a great opportunity, and I'm hoping that humanity is a bit restored through this, that we kind of take care of our neighbors and take care of our friends and just reach out and be there for each other. Do you envision any way that the district working more closely with the employee groups?
Yeah, I think the district has a good foundational relationship with our employee groups. I think it could be stronger. I think that we always could forge a stronger, tighter, closer relationship. I know I have a strong relationship with most of the employee groups, and it's quite impressive to see how they're stepping up right now to support our students outside of the normal conversational type of things that they do in the district. I was working closely with the SEA with Project Prom, for instance, and seeing them really make an effort to show our community, even before this happened, that we're not just about the teachers, obviously, we're about teachers for students, right? It's how can we best work together, all of us, to help our students? And I know that that was something that they were really wanting to show our community, and always have been, but most recently show that even stronger. And I think that out of this, I think that's going to be a big talking point, that our teachers and our employee groups were significantly there for everyone.
Yeah,
keep
no,
going.
no, I'm listening. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, and I wanted to jump off of that a little bit. The employee groups are significant, and I find them very valuable, truly. But some of the work they're doing is even more significant for our students. I mentioned Project Prom, and Chris Ambry was working close with me, and so was Becky, and everybody in the district that really wanted to pitch in. And having said that, there were some of those things that were in place and motion before this all happened, right? And kind of taking a little bit of a segue here, before we end this, I wanted to talk to some of the things that I know that are on people's minds. For instance, we haven't touched on our seniors at all, Eric. And while my heart breaks for, there are so many kids that my heart breaks for, our equity has really shown, that has to be, we have to really focus on the inequities in our district through this, right? We're getting those laptops and keep in kids' hands. We're trying to provide those Wi-Fi hotspots so kids can have internet. We're trying to provide those meals, etc. And you mentioned our special education children. We really need to focus on them right now because some of them have IEPs, and the change is going to be traumatic for them, and they may even take a step back, and that is certainly not something that we want. And then the other group right now to the side here is those seniors, and it's a very real traumatic thing for those seniors. Their entire life they look forward to graduating and those rites of passage and everything that was supposed to fall in place as we launched them into the world, right? And here we are now with a complication and kind of a big question about what the end of their senior year is going to be like. And I've been getting quite a few questions about whether it be prom or graduation ceremonies, etc. Most of the proms were supposed to be in April, and I know I saw some emails that went out, and of course they were canceled for right now. We're following the lead of the state with the closures, etc. We have to. But if there is any wiggle room at all, I will speak to leadership and we'll see what we can do to make it up to the seniors, to do something for those seniors. I'm hoping that we can find something that celebrates them, because I know that they're fairly traumatized right now, truly.
Yeah, I think something will happen. I don't know if it'll be like a homecoming kind of thing where they're celebrated, but it has to be safety first. And then those are
Right.
the tough calls. And we
Yep.
make those tough calls, and they are children. And we as adults make those calls for children. It has to be done. Somebody asked about, one of the questions was, what do you mean by a slow rollout? I think that was in response to our special education question.
A
I'm not
slow
sure.
rollout. Well, if we're talking about special education, not a slow rollout. I meant that our leadership is actually focusing on the best ways to serve that population right now. I know, because so much of our special education population, it is hands-on, right? You've got those therapists right in front of the kids. It's unique to our educational environment, and so they were really trying to figure out a way where they could do it. Some things online, they could, and it's really a different area. So again, I don't want to speak to it precisely because I don't want to be inaccurate about it. But what commitment I will make is that on my own page, and I'll share it with you too, Eric, I will find out what they've accomplished in the last couple of days as far as helping our special education students, so that we can get more communication out about that.
Great. Thank you very much for that.
Sure.
Okay, so we're going to kind of wrap up here. We've been longer than we should have been. I do want to say that I'm going to make a little bit of a plug. We turned in our signatures virtually. Well, I did the old mail-in, and we got this thing here today on an email that said we made it on the ballot. So we were more than double the signatures. We're on the ballot. We didn't wait for the last moment, so that was an exciting bit of news. And then I want to share a bit of sad news. Is one of the people that I was doing some pop-up shops and good things for the community, her brother passed away last night. And so I guess the message is, right now, people are isolated, and the little problems that we think we have, they're not that big. Take the time, call a loved one, tell them that you care about them, ask them if they need something. If they do, practice social distancing, be safe. But I just talked to a guy this morning, well, about 2 hours ago. He's 90 years old, and I called him up just to see if he needed something a couple of days ago, and we had a great conversation. And he called me today. He called me 2 hours ago asking how I was doing, and it just lifted my spirits. We can all use a little bit more love. It's raining outside. Be the rainbow. I want to thank you, Patty Beckman. You are a rainbow. You are a bright ray of sunshine. We will have information hopefully on your page, on the Curlin 23 page. If there's anybody out there that would like a call from either a high school senior, because we got a bunch of seniors wanting to do this, or some of our volunteers, go to curlin23.com, put your name into the part where it says, give us your information, and just put in the message, I want a phone call, and we will call you and see how you're doing. So check up on your neighbors, check up on your kids. A lot of love, Patty Beckman. Take
Thanks,
care.
Eric. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Stay safe and healthy, everyone.
Yep, you too.